Hi folks, so the question we have in front of us here today, guys, is a transformation geometry question. Okay, it's from the Understanding Technical Graphics textbook and it's actually on page 268. Okay, so if you're looking for the measurements for that, just run through a few bits on the measurements. Okay, so we can see we've obviously a semicircle here, center C, and its radius is 30 millimeters, and then down from C it is down a distance of 50 millimeters down to this point here, which I've labelled B. Okay. From the top of my semicircle I measured over 50 millimeters there to get to Q, another 40 to get to S, and then another 50 over here and down 40 to get T. Okay, and from B I can see obviously to locate R, it's just straight out from B and straight down from D will help you locate the point R there. Okay, so based off of this question, guys, what they want us to do is 4 types of transformation. Okay, they want us to do an axial symmetry in the line QR, so this image, axial symmetry of this image in the line QR, so it's just going to be flipped over the line QR. Okay, and we can see this time our line here, in comparison to other times we've done this question, it's at an angle. Okay, it's not obviously perfectly vertical or perfectly horizontal. Okay, the next one they want us to do is a central symmetry. So after we do the axial symmetry, they want us to do a central symmetry in the point S. Okay, so we're using S, so our object will probably be up here somewhere. And then after that one, they want us to do a translation equal to ST. So we're going to, wherever we get the image up here, we're going to move it down parallel to ST and the same distance. And then finally we're going to rotate clockwise about the point R. Okay, and we can see R here, an angle of 50 degrees. So it'll be here and we'll probably be rotating it down here. Okay, so sometimes when you're doing these questions, guys, you just have to think of the positioning. I'm on a standard A3 page here, and I have started my object roughly in the middle of the page, and I've kept it left of center then. So halfway up the page and then left of center, and then I put in all this information. Okay, so we're going to start there, guys, and the very first one we're going to start with is the axial symmetry. Okay, so you're going to need a little bit of sliding set squares for this, guys, once you've got the object set up. So I'll get started there, and first of all I'll just explain. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so you can see it a bit better. But once I have the object drawn, I have identified some points on it that are important. Okay, the center of the semicircle obviously is very important, and there's no real points on the arc of the circle. Okay, so I haven't used any of them, but I have a point here and I have a point over here, and then I've also got a point down here. So technically there's about 4 points on this object to be able to draw it: A, B, C and D. Okay, so what I want to do is I want to find those points by axial symmetry across the line QR. Okay, so the way I do it, guys, I am going to set up my long edge of my 45 degree, and I'll just do it there so you can see it a bit better. I'm going to set up my long edge of my 45 degree set square, okay, on the line QR. Make sure it's accurate. Okay, and then put my 30-60 underneath. It doesn't matter, it could go up here as well, but then I'm just going to flip it like that, and now I've created a perpendicular angle. Zoom back in there now, and I'm going to find the point. I'll start with B and I'll work my way up. So B, I'm going to transfer it across. Axial symmetry basically means it's just flipped over, okay, at a perpendicular angle. So that angle in there now is 90 degrees. So B, I'll do the same for A. A, we can see, is going to be out a bit further. A is probably going to be our longest one. Same for C, and then the same for D. Now, at this point, guys, there's a little bit of, how I would put it is, smarts in how you would do one of these questions. Okay, sometimes when you're doing the axial symmetry, okay, the distances that you take from our axis in this case, which is QR, okay, the distance you take, although you might think they're right, sometimes they could be out by like millimeters, okay, not even millimeters, but even smaller than millimeters, like a half a millimeter, a quarter of a millimeter, and as the questions go on, they can add up to what the actual final object might look like, okay, the final transformation. So what I'm actually going to notice is the line ACD, okay, the bottom line of my semicircle, there's 3 points on that, okay, C obviously to be able to draw it, but the line A and D, they're obviously all in a straight line. So if I was just to find A and then find D and then connect them, technically I'll have found C. So I'll just show you that there first. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to axial symmetry, going to put my compass point on the QR axis, going to measure out with my compass as far as A. Okay, I'm quite happy with that distance there, and I'm going to mark it out. And then I'll do the exact same, and I'm going to do it for D. Just taking my time over these points now. So there's D. And what you'll actually have noticed is I have found A, which then becomes A1. I found D, which becomes D1. Okay, and if I was to connect them up, I technically, at this point here, where C is, I'd assume that would be C1. Okay, and I'm going to mark up C1 like that. But just to check it, and we'll see how close I would have got. Okay, because sometimes they should have all worked out on a line. Okay, but that was a little technique there I could have used just to save me a bit of time. Take the distance out to C from the axis, mark it out the opposite side, and we'll see how close I was. Yeah, pretty close. Okay, I'm quite happy with that, but I'm also happy with where I've done the positioning of it. And now the other one I want to find is obviously B. Okay, so B down here at the bottom. That distance there, mark it out the opposite side, and now I have found B1 as well. Okay, and I know B1 connects up a heavy line as far as C. What I'll actually do is I'm going to draw in my semicircle first. So I'll draw in my semicircle first. C being the centre. There's my centre. I'm going to mark it to D1 being the radius and just make sure it'll reach to A1. Yep, quite happy with that. So put in that semicircle there. So that came out quite well, so I know I'm on the right track. It's just important, guys, taking a little bit of care about our work. Okay, I know A over here connects to B, so it's going to be the exact same over here. So we'll get that done. So A1 is now going to connect to B1. And I know B also connects up, or B1 connects up to C. And then C connects over to D. Okay, that's the very first one down there, guys. As we can see, I basically got the image and I flipped it over like that, and I flipped it over the line QR. That is axial symmetry. Now the next one it said it wanted us to do was central symmetry in the point S. Okay, so I'm going to do the exact same thing. Central symmetry, all my points, okay, the last time they flipped across the axis, this time all my points are going to be mirrored out, but they're all going to go through the point S. Okay, so A is going to go through S, C, D and B as well. So I'll start with A, and I'm going to send that out through S. So it's going to be somewhere out there. Same with C, same with D. Okay, and the exact same with B as well. Send that out the opposite side. Okay, just zoom out there so you can see it a little touch better. There we go. And once again, exact same thing. I'm going to take the distances from S to all the points, and I'm going to do the same thing with A and D and help me locate C by connecting up a straight line. So I'm going to do D first. So from S to D1. Okay, and I'm going to mark it out the opposite side. That will now become D2. Then from S to A1. So that distance there, quite happy with that. Mark it out, opposite side. There it is on the opposite side. And then I'm going to also do B1. There's B1. Just make sure I have it on. Yep. It's gone quite up close to the top of my page. Just zoom out there a little bit further so you can see that. And what I'll notice is I'm going to have to connect up my line B1 up to the top. There we go, just so I can have it found. And label my points again. So I've got A2, I've got B2 up here, and I've got this one which would be D2. Okay, and once again I'm going to connect A and D, A2 and D2 to find C2. Okay, and if I followed C line out, technically I assume that would be C2 right there. Okay, and I will put C2 up this way because it's after flipping. And very important, I'm just going to check. Once again, I can go back and check my accuracy. Okay, I'll put it on C1. We'll just see how close I would have been. And I'm sticking pretty close. I'm probably coming out at about 0.5 millimeter out there now. Maybe even 1/4 millimeter out, but I'm getting pretty close and I'm still happy with that. Okay, so at this point now, using that as my center, from A to D I'm going to connect up, and using that as my center, I'm going to just check it. I'm going to have a semicircle. This time my semicircle is going to be flipped upside down. I'm going to take the distance to A, make sure it's the same as the distance to D. Yeah, quite happy with that. So there we go. Drawing my semicircle, only this time, as I said, it's going to be upside down. Okay, there's my semicircle. Now at this point, I am just going to heavy in, so I know from D to C is connected. So it's from D to C. I know C connects down to B, or I should say up to B in this case. And then B connects over to A. There we go. That's the next part of the question done. So axial symmetry, okay, across the line QR, central symmetry through the line ST. Now the next one is a translation along the line ST, okay. So basically all we're doing is we're taking this guy here, okay, and we're basically moving it parallel to the line ST, okay, the exact same direction and the same distance, okay. So whatever that distance is, you probably measure with your compass, but it's coming out at about 64 millimeters. That's all we're going to be doing. So we're going parallel to the line ST. So set up our sliding set squares on the line ST. I'm happy with that. And now what I'm going to do is I'm going to slide them up until I get A, C and D down. That's going to be A in there somewhere. C is going to be in there somewhere. And the same with D2. And then the last one, I just have to move around my set squares there a little bit. Visualize getting in the way. So line up with that one. So all we're doing is copying the line. I'm going to slide it sideways this time. Bring it down a little bit. And sideways over again. Oops. So there we go. So all the way up to B there. And it's like I say in class, guys, all we do is we're basically moving it along train tracks, okay? And we're moving it a distance of S to T. So I'll take the distance from S to T. There on my compass, I'm going to take that distance there. And for each of these points, for point A, or I should say A2, mark it out. I'm going to find A3, D3, hopefully C3, they should all join up. And then B3. So that one is B3. I had D3, A3, and I should have C3 in here as well. Okay, and just to be checking, all A, C and D should line up. What I've done previously was I did just connected up A and D, but this time it worked out quite well. There we go. So I'm happy with that. And it's the exact same image, so I'm going to connect B up to C, B up to A, B3 up to A3, sorry. Okay, and then I think C connects over to D, and at this point then, just very quickly fill in the semicircle once again. Alright, so anytime I'm doing a semicircle, just going to make sure my distances, so out to A there is good, out to D there is good. There we go. Okay, so far guys, as I said once again, axial symmetry, across the line QR, central symmetry into point S, and now we've done a translation. Now, the very last one is, it would like us to do a rotation about the point R at an angle of 50 degrees. Okay, so what I'm actually going to do is I'm going to start with the point that's probably the highest up from it, and then I'll do the 50 degrees after that. But what we're going to be doing is you have to repeat the process a couple of times here. So I'm going to connect up the line A3 to R. Okay, I'll actually use a different colour here now. I'm going to use a green. Mightn't stand out, it might look dark, but that's a green there guys. Okay, so what I've done is I've connected the line R to A3, and what I want to do is basically I want to move A3 50 degrees down in an arc. Okay, so the next thing I'm going to do is from R to A3, I'm going to connect that up with my compass. I'm going to take that distance on my compass. Okay, and I'm going to rotate down to roughly where I think 50 degrees is. I should have changed it up. That's actually black. It'll be grand up. Now what I'm going to do is I want to measure along that line where 50 degrees is, and 50 is coming over here. However, what I always do, guys, and I think it's very, very important, is from the R, I'm going to extend out that line. I'm going to extend it out here like that. Just make a little mark there. You can see I've made it down here, and that's just going to also be a guide on my protractor, guys. Okay, so at this point again, putting it on R, make sure it's lined up. Yep, make sure it's lined up on both sides down here as well. And when I'm happy with that at 50 degrees, so 10, 20, 30, 40 over to 50, there's my 50 degree mark. And at that point then, connect that to R. Okay, and as you can see there, and I'll put this red one back on, should have been red I used that time. Mark it out to the distance there and just extend it down, and what you'll actually notice is I have now rotated A3 about 50 degrees until it is actually in the position of A4. Okay, very, very simple. Okay, but we have to repeat that process for C3, D3 and B3 as well. The angle inside in here, once again I'll actually put it in green, so that angle in there, 50 degrees. Okay, so what we're going to do is we're going to use the exact same method once again for C3. So actually I'll do it for D3, and that'll actually save us a step. So connect D3 to R, extend it down. Okay, and then I'm going to put on my protractor. I'll do the protractor first this time. Put it onto R. Make sure I'm happy with all the setup. Yes, I am. And then mark 50 again. So 0, there's 50. There's my mark. And that's from R. Where people can make mistakes on this one, guys, is they might get confused which line they were doing it off, but just remember the point you're trying to find is that line that's going on. So technically now this time it's from here down to here. Okay, and that's my 50 degrees this time. Okay, but once again I have to rotate the point around. Now this time I could, people might wonder, could I have taken the distance from A3 to A4, mark that and then come over to D? I wouldn't advise that, because the distance from R to A3 is different from than the distance from R to D3. So rotate again is what we're going to do. I've had that question asked me before in a class, so rotate around. There we go, happy with that. And as we can see here now, at this point here, I have now found the point D4. Okay, now we know A connects up to D, so I'll do that. Say this is going to be a little saving time piece here. And what I can do now is, okay, if you did this in the exam, you don't have to do the 50 degrees again. You could save yourself a bit of time, because I know C3 is in the center of the line A3 and D3. So I rotate that around. What you'll see is I've actually found, right, different color, C4. Okay, and then the very, very last one I want to do is B. Okay, so B3. So I'll connect R up to B3. Sorry, green pen. Okay, once again, just make sure it is the right one you're on. I'm happy with that. Mark the 50 degrees. It is there. Extend it out. This one's going to be out further again. Okay, so it's going to be out here, and then rotate that down. It's a little bit in this one, guys, so need quite a good compass to be able to reach all the points. Using a mathematical set one, this will not be great. So there we go. I've rotated that around and I have located the point B4. 4. And I know B4 connects up to C4, B4 connects up to A4 I should say, C4 connects up to D4, and then it's just simply a case of putting in my semicircle. Get that done there now. And hopefully it matches up. Here we go. This is where we're having a little bit of trouble. So I'm going to make it work. I'm out by about, yeah, half a mil. Now if that happens in an exam, guys, sometimes that can often happen on the rotation part, but if that happens in an exam, what you do is you have to just do your best to kind of finesse it around. I just basically, my compass point where I have C4 is there, I just moved it about to here, and that made it look a little bit better there. Okay, so that's the question done there, guys. Hope you found that helpful. New part there, guys, on the rotations. As you can see, it's not too hard, probably a little bit more tedious than the rest of them though, okay, where we have to kind of do the 50-degree angle a number of times. Okay, I saved myself one step there on the C4 one, in that the line A to D connects up, and then it's literally a case of rotating around to find C4. And then obviously I had to do it again with B4. Okay, there is one other types of rotation whereby they don't give you the center point R, and you'd have to find it, and we'll practice that in the next class. Okay, so best luck with that there, guys.